My dear friend, before the world learns how to treat you, you must teach it by how you treat yourself. You were born with worth, not because someone approved of you, not because you succeeded, pleased, or obeyed, but because you exist. Self-respect is the quiet strength that rises when no one is watching. It is how you stand when the applause fades. It is how you speak when silence would be easier. It is how you walk away when staying would cost you your soul. Respect yourself enough to stop begging for seats at tables where your presence is merely tolerated. You are not meant to be endured. You are meant to be valued. When you respect yourself, you choose truth over comfort. You choose peace over chaos. You choose dignity over approval. You do not explain your dreams to those committed to misunderstanding you. You do not apologize for growing, and you do not carry shame that was never yours to hold. Let me tell you something powerful. Every time you say no to what hurts you, you say yes to yourself. And that yes changes everything. Self-respect means honoring your feelings even when they inconvenience others. It means resting without guilt. It means speaking kindly to yourself on days when the world has been cruel. You have survived storms that tried to break you, and yet here you stand, still breathing, still becoming. So stand tall, lift your chin, carry your name with pride. Because when you respect yourself, know your worth before the world decides it for you. Because the world is always eager to assign a price to your soul. It will measure you by productivity, popularity, silence, or sacrifice. It will try to convince you that your value rises and falls with its moods. But your worth was not created by opinion, and it cannot be erased by rejection. Long before anyone judged your steps, you were already whole. Long before approval was offered or withheld, you were already enough. There will be moments when you are misunderstood, overlooked, or underestimated. In those moments, self-respect becomes your anchor. It reminds you not to bend yourself into shapes that do not fit just to be accepted. You do not have to prove your humanity. You do not have to perform your pain or decorate your strength. Knowing your worth means standing firm even when applause is absent and validation is delayed. When you respect yourself, you stop negotiating your dignity. You stop explaining why you deserve kindness, fairness, or honesty. You understand that being treated well is not a reward for obedience, but a basic right. And when that right is denied, you learn the power of walking away, not in bitterness, but in clarity. Walking away is not weakness, it is self-recognition. The world may try to rush you, rush your healing, rush your becoming, but knowing your worth teaches you patience with your own process. You honor your pace. You forgive yourself for what you didn't know before you learned it. You stop using your past as evidence against yourself and start seeing it as proof of survival. Growth does not require self-punishment, it requires self-respect. There is a quiet confidence that comes when you no longer need permission to take up space. You speak without shrinking your voice. You listen without losing yourself. You give without emptying your soul. This confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is knowing who you are and refusing to abandon yourself for comfort, convenience, or company. And when the world finally notices your strength, let it find you already standing. Let it find you rooted in truth, not chasing acceptance. Let it find you calm in your knowing, gentle in your power, unshaken by comparison. Because when you know your worth before the world decides it for you, no opinion can crown you, and no rejection can dethrone you. You belong to yourself first, and that is the greatest respect you will ever give or receive. Self-respect begins quietly, long before anyone else speaks to you. It begins with the words you whisper to yourself in the early hours of doubt, in moments of failure, and in the silence after disappointment. Those words shape how you stand, how you recover, and how you continue. If you speak to yourself with cruelty, the world will not have to work hard to wound you. But if you speak with truth and compassion, even the harshest voices will lose their power over you. You must understand this deeply. The longest conversation you will ever have is with yourself. Every thought becomes a brick, building either a shelter or a prison. When you call yourself weak, unworthy, or incapable, you are rehearsing defeat before life even tests you. But when you remind yourself that you are learning, growing, and surviving, you give your spirit room to breathe. Self-respect is not pretending you are perfect. It is refusing to destroy yourself for being human. There will be days when you stumble, when you fall short of your own expectations. On those days, notice how quickly you turn against yourself. Notice the sharpness of your inner voice. Respecting yourself means choosing correction over condemnation. It means saying, I made a mistake, instead of, I am a mistake. Growth cannot live where self-hatred rules. Healing cannot stay where shame is constantly invited. The words you speak to yourself also decide what you tolerate from others. When you tell yourself you deserve patience, honesty, and care, you stop accepting disrespect disguised as love. You stop excusing neglect. You stop staying silent just to keep the peace. A mind trained in self-respect does not beg to be valued. It expects it. And expectation, quiet and firm, changes how the world approaches you. Speak to yourself with the same grace you offer to people you love. Encourage yourself when progress feels slow. Comfort yourself when the weight feels heavy. Celebrate yourself when no one is watching. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. A person who knows how to speak kindly to themselves cannot be easily broken because their strength is renewed from within. Over time, your words will shape your posture, your choices, and your courage. You will stand straighter, not because life became easier, but because your inner voice became stronger. You will take risks, not because fear disappeared, but because you stopped insulting yourself for feeling it. Respect grows when your inner dialogue becomes a place of refuge instead of punishment. Remember this, the world will speak to you in many voices, some loving, some careless, some cruel. You cannot control them all, but you can control the voice that follows you everywhere. Let it be honest, let it be firm, but let it be kind. Because when you change the way you speak to yourself, you do not just build self-respect, you become it. Boundaries are often misunderstood as if they are signs of coldness or distance, but in truth, they are one of the clearest expressions of self-love. They are not walls built to keep people out. They are lines drawn to protect what matters within you. When you create boundaries, you are not rejecting others. You are choosing yourself. You are saying that your time, energy, and peace have value, and that value deserves care. For a long time, many of us were taught that love requires endless availability, constant sacrifice, and silence in the face of discomfort. We were praised for endurance, not for honesty. But self-respect asks something different of us. It asks us to notice when giving becomes draining, when patience turns into self-erasure, and when kindness is mistaken for permission. Boundaries are how you interrupt that cycle without losing your humanity. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first. Guilt may rise, fear may whisper, and old habits may resist change. You may worry about being misunderstood or abandoned, but understand this, people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always question them. That does not mean your boundaries are wrong, it means they are working. Self-love is not always gentle in its first steps. Sometimes it is firm, sometimes it trembles, but it always tells the truth. Boundaries teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to honor yourself. When you say no without apology, you affirm your right to choose. When you step back from what exhausts you, you reclaim your strength. When you protect your peace, you make room for clarity and growth. These choices are not acts of selfishness, they are acts of survival and respect. There will be moments when enforcing boundaries feels lonely. Not everyone will walk with you once you stop overextending yourself. But those who remain will meet you in honesty, not expectation. And even if you stand alone for a while, you will stand whole. It is better to feel temporary solitude than permanent resentment toward yourself. Boundaries also require consistency. A boundary spoken once but not upheld becomes a suggestion, not a standard. Respect grows when your actions match your words. Each time you honor your limits, you strengthen your trust in yourself. You begin to believe that you will protect your own heart, and that belief becomes a source of deep inner calm. As time passes, you will notice something change. You will no longer feel the need to explain yourself endlessly. You will feel lighter, clearer, more grounded. Relationships will either deepen through mutual respect or fall away through resistance. Both outcomes are truths revealing themselves. Boundaries do not destroy connections, they reveal which ones are real. In choosing boundaries, you choose presence over depletion and truth over performance. You choose to love yourself in a way that is sustainable, honest, and strong. And in that choice, you do not become distant, you become free. You were never meant to become smaller so that others could feel bigger. Yet so many times you were taught to soften your voice, dim your light, lower your dreams, and apologize for your presence. You learned to read rooms before reading your own heart, to measure your words so no one would feel threatened, to carry less of yourself so others could remain at ease. But self-respect begins the moment you refuse to disappear for anyone's comfort. There is a quiet violence in shrinking. It happens slowly, almost politely. You laugh when something hurts. You stay silent when something matters. You say, "It's fine," when it is anything but. Over time, you forget the sound of your own truth. You start mistaking endurance for strength and silence for peace. But peace that costs you yourself is not peace, it is surrender. You do not owe the world your smallness. Your confidence is not arrogance. Your boundaries are not selfishness. Your growth is not betrayal. When you take up space, when you speak clearly, when you stand firmly in who you are, it may unsettle those who benefited from your quietness. That discomfort is not your responsibility. You are not here to manage other people's insecurities at the expense of your own soul. Standing fully in yourself will test you. You may lose approval you once relied on. You may be called difficult, intense, or too much. But too much is often what people say when they are unwilling to rise. Let them misunderstand you. Let them be uncomfortable. Self-respect does not require permission, and it does not wait for consensus. When you stop shrinking, something powerful happens inside you. Your breath deepens, your shoulders lift, your choices become clearer. You stop asking, "Will they like this?" and start asking, "Is this true to me?" That shift changes everything. You begin to move through the world with intention instead of apology, with purpose instead of fear. Taking up space does not mean overpowering others. It means standing honestly without folding yourself in half. It means allowing your laughter to be loud, your opinions to be spoken, your dreams to be visible. It means honoring the fullness of who you are without trimming the edges to fit someone else's expectations. You are not excess. You are not a burden. You are a presence. There will be moments when shrinking feels safer. Old habits will whisper that it's easier to blend in, easier to stay quiet, easier to be agreeable. But remember how heavy that safety feels. Remember how tired you were of carrying yourself invisibly. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing yourself despite it. The world does not change because people make themselves smaller. It changes because someone finally stands up straight and refuses to disappear. When you stop shrinking, you give others permission to do the same. You become a reminder that authenticity is not dangerous. It is necessary. So stand as you are. Speak as you are. Take up the space your life requires. You were not born to be comfortable for others. You were born to be true to yourself. Saying no is one of the most honest sentences you will ever speak, and yet it is the one most often wrapped in fear. From an early age, you were taught that being good meant being agreeable, that love was proven through sacrifice, and that refusal was something to be ashamed of. Over time, no began to feel heavy on your tongue, as if choosing yourself required an apology. But self-respect asks you to unlearn that lesson gently and completely. Every no you avoid saying does not disappear. It settles quietly inside you. It becomes exhaustion, resentment, bitterness, and fatigue you cannot explain. You smile while agreeing, but something inside tightens. You give when you are empty, stay when you are tired, and accept what hurts just to avoid discomfort. This is not kindness. This is self-abandonment disguised as peace. Saying no is not rejection. It is clarity. It is the moment you acknowledge your limits and honor them. When you say no, you are not declaring war on others. You are declaring care for yourself. You are admitting that your energy is finite, your time is valuable, and your well-being matters. That truth does not make you selfish. It makes you awake. Guilt often follows a no, especially when you are used to being the one who says yes. That guilt is not a signal that you have done something wrong. It is a sign that you are doing something new. Growth almost always feels uncomfortable at first. The courage to say no is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, trembling, and deeply powerful. It is choosing honesty even when your voice shakes. Some people will not like your no. They may question it, challenge it, or try to negotiate it away. Understand this clearly. People who respect you will respect your no, even if they are disappointed. Those who pressure you to say yes are often more invested in your compliance than your well-being. Their reaction is information, not instruction. Each time you say no without over-explaining, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. You teach yourself that your needs are valid and your boundaries deserve protection. Slowly, you begin to trust yourself more. You stop feeling like you must earn rest, space, or peace. You realize that you are allowed to choose without permission. Saying no also creates room for better yeses. When you stop pouring yourself into what drains you, you have more to give to what truly matters. Your yes becomes intentional instead of automatic. It comes from desire, not obligation, and that kind of yes carries joy instead of resentment. There will be moments when saying no costs you closeness, familiarity, or approval. Let it. Anything that requires your self-disrespect as an entry fee is too expensive. You are not here to be endlessly available. You are here to be whole. Over time, no will stop feeling like a wound and start feeling like relief. You will breathe easier. You will move slower, steadier, truer. And you will understand that courage is not always about pushing forward. Sometimes courage is simply knowing when to stop. When you say no with honesty and calm, you are not closing doors. You are protecting the life inside them. And that is not something to feel guilty about. That is something to be proud of. Your past does not cancel your value, no matter how loudly it tries to speak. There are moments when memory rises like a shadow, reminding you of mistakes you wish you could erase, choices you would rewrite, versions of yourself you barely recognize. The past has a way of knocking when you least expect it, whispering that you should have known better, been better, done more. But memory is not a judge, and regret is not a verdict. You are not the worst thing you have ever done. You are not defined by a chapter that taught you through pain. Growth often comes disguised as failure, and wisdom often arrives only after loss. If your past still aches, it is not proof of weakness. It is proof that you cared, that you lived, that you were brave enough to try without guarantees. Survival itself is a form of strength we rarely give ourselves credit for. There are people who will try to reduce you to your history, who will hold old versions of you against your present growth. They may remember who you were when you were confused, hurting, or unaware, but they are not required to understand your transformation. Self-respect means refusing to stay trapped in someone else's memory of you. You are allowed to evolve beyond the roles you once played. Forgiving yourself is not forgetting what happened. It is choosing not to punish yourself forever for it. You can acknowledge your wrongs without chaining yourself to them. Accountability and compassion are not enemies. You can say, I was wrong, and still say, I am worthy of moving forward. Shame wants you frozen. Self-respect invites you to continue. Your past was a classroom, not a life sentence. It taught you what you will no longer tolerate, who you no longer want to be, and what truly matters to you now. The lessons may have been harsh, but they refined your awareness. You see more clearly today because you once walked in confusion. You stand stronger because you once fell. Do not let guilt convince you that you must stay small to make up for who you used to be. Growth is not arrogance. Healing is not denial. Becoming better is not an insult to those who remember your pain. You honor your past best by living differently, by choosing integrity, and by refusing to repeat what once broke you. There will be days when old memories resurface and try to steal your confidence. On those days, remind yourself that time does not move backward for a reason. You are not meant to live where you learned the lesson. You are meant to use what you learned to build something wiser, kinder, and more grounded. Self-respect means standing in the present without dragging the weight of yesterday on your back. It means recognizing that your value did not expire because you struggled. It means trusting that who you are becoming matters more than who you were trying to survive as. You are allowed to grow beyond your past without asking for permission. You are allowed to be proud of how far you've come, even if the road behind you was messy. The past may explain you, but it does not own you, and it never had the power to take away your worth. There comes a moment in life when staying costs more than leaving. You feel it quietly at first, a heaviness in your chest, a tiredness that sleep cannot fix, a sense that something inside you is slowly dimming. What diminishes your spirit rarely announces itself loudly. It often arrives dressed as obligation, familiarity, or loyalty. But self-respect begins when you listen to that inner warning instead of silencing it. Walking away does not mean you did not care. In fact, it often means you cared deeply for too long. You tried to understand, to adjust, to give more than you had. You waited for change, for appreciation, for relief. But there is a point where endurance turns into erosion. When your joy is consistently dismissed, your voice is repeatedly ignored, and your peace is treated as negotiable, staying becomes an act of self-betrayal. Many people fear walking away because they confuse it with failure. They think leaving means they were not strong enough, patient enough, or loving enough. But strength is not proven by how much pain you can tolerate. Strength is proven by knowing when something is breaking you and choosing to stop the damage. Walking away is not quitting. It is choosing life over slow destruction. What diminishes your spirit may be a relationship, a place, a pattern, or even a version of yourself that no longer fits. It may look fine from the outside. Others may not understand why you feel so drained. But your inner life is not required to make sense to anyone else. Self-respect trusts inner truth over external approval. Leaving can feel lonely. Familiar pain often feels safer than unfamiliar peace. You may miss what was good, even while knowing what was harmful. That does not mean you made the wrong choice. Grief and clarity can exist together. You are allowed to mourn what you hoped it would become, even as you accept what it truly is. When you walk away from what diminishes your spirit, you make space for something healthier to find you. You reclaim energy that was being wasted on survival. You begin to hear yourself again. Slowly, your laughter returns without effort. Your body relaxes, your mind clears. These are not coincidences. They are signs of alignment. Some people will not understand your decision. They may accuse you of being selfish or dramatic. Let them. Anyone who benefited from your silence or suffering will always question your courage. Their misunderstanding is not your burden to carry. You do not need permission to protect your soul. Walking away teaches you a powerful lesson. You are not obligated to stay where you are diminished. You are allowed to choose environments that nourish you, relationships that respect you, and paths that allow you to grow without shrinking. This choice is not made out of anger, but out of clarity. Over time, you will look back and realize that leaving was not the end, it was the beginning. It was the moment you decided that your spirit mattered. And once you make that decision, you never forget how to honor it again.